17th City Council agenda meeting. I will call to order and ask for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, if she wishes, by Councilwoman Hill.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We do not have a special presentation this evening, so I will go on to our minute approval. Do have a motion for a minutes approval. Without objection, the minutes will stand. Madam Clerk, ordinances on final reading. Will you please read items A through Q? We're going to kick this off with a marathon on final reading, and we will patiently wait for you. A through Q. We'll take those as a group.
Item A, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 100 West Bell Avenue from C2 Convenience Commercial Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions. Item B, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 916 Birmingham Highway from R2 Residential Zone to M1 Manufacturing Zone. Item C, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to lift conditions number 1, 2, and 3 from ordinance number 8969 from previous case number 1988-0168 on property located at 2067 Crescent Club Drive, subject to certain conditions. Item D, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone part of the property located at 2067 Crescent Club Drive from O1 Office Zone to C2 Convenience Commercial Zone. Item E, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to lift conditions number 1 through 6, 8, and 9 of ordinance number 11827 from previous case number 2006-0028 for the properties located at 5867, 5871, and 5893 Highway 153. Item F, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 6620, 6624, 6628, 6634, 6636, 6640, and 6642 Sand Switch Road from R1 Residential Zone to RTZ Residential Townhouse 0 Lot Line Zone, subject to certain conditions. Item G, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 7002 Hickson Pike and an unaddressed property in the 7000 block of Hickson Pike from R1 Residential Zone to R3 Residential Zone. Item H, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 7432, 74 Mintom Drive from R1 Residential Zone to RTZ Lot Line Zone, subject to certain conditions. Item I, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 6238 Bonnie Oaks Drive from R2 Residential Zone to C2 Convenience Zone. Item J, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1733 Reed Avenue from URD2 Urban Residential Detached Zone to URA3 Urban Residential Attached Zone. Item K, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 919 East Main Street from C2 Convenience Commercial Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone. Item L, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 1497 and 1521 Riverside Drive from M1 Manufacturing Zone to C2 Convenience Commercial Zone. Item M, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone Road from R1 Residential Zone to RTZ Line Zone, subject to certain conditions. Item N, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1801, 1803, 1805, 1807, and 1809 Duncan Avenue from R1 Residential Zone and R4 Special Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions. Item O, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 3725 and 3805 Grace Avenue from R1 residential zone to RTZ residential townhouse zero lot line zone. Item P, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 1619 Dodge Avenue, 1922 South Watkins Street, 2270 East 21st Street, and 1803 and 2111 South Lowry Street from C2 Convenience Commercial Zone to M1 Manufacturing Zone and R3 Residential Zone to C3 Central Business Zone, subject to certain conditions. Item Q, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to deviate to the maximum building height within the C3 Central Business Zone for the properties located at 2318 East Main Street, 1506 South Lowry Street, 1500 and 1700 South Watkins Street, 1619 Dodge Avenue, and 2513 East 19th Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Coonrod. I have a motion to approve. I do have a second. Questions, comments before we vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motions carry. Under Parks and Public Works, Madam Clerk, would you read items R, S, and T, please?
Yes. Item R, an ordinance closing and abandoning an unopened alley in the 2100 block of East 26th Street as detailed on the attached map subject to certain conditions. Item S, an ordinance closing and abandoning an unopened alley along the 800 block of Dodge Avenue and the 2700 block of Kirby Avenue as detailed on the attached map subject to certain conditions. Item T, an ordinance closing and abandoning multiple alleyways in the 1800 block of Vance Avenue and the 800 block of South Orchard Knob Avenue as detailed on the attached map subject to certain conditions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. What is the council's desire? I do have a motion to approve. I do hear a second. Questions and comments before we vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motions carry. Ordinances on first reading. Under planning, 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 612 North Greenwood Avenue from R1 residential zone to R2 residential zone.
Is the applicant present? I do have an applicant. Is there any opposition present? Councilwoman Knoll, I have an applicant with no opposition. If you'll hit your light.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I spoke with several neighbors on the 600 block of Greenwood. And also, I see that even though it was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, but denied by the staff. And due to the fact that the residents was in opposition of it, as well denial of the staff due to the fact that it is not in compliance with the Historic River to Ridge plan. Make a motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny with a second. Questions, comments before we vote? All in favor for a motion to deny, say aye. Opposed? Motion to deny carries. Madam Clerk, under Public Works Transport.
An ordinance closing and abandoning an open right of Delawana Terrace as detailed on the attached map subject to certain conditions.
I do have a motion to approve. I do hear a second. Questions and comments before we vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, resolutions under council office. Will you please read A and B?
Item A, a resolution confirming the reappointment of Ryan Keene to the Sports Authority Board for District 4 with a term expiration of May 17, 2028. Item B, a resolution confirming the reappointment of Gordon Parker to the Industrial Development Board for District 4 with a term expiration of May 17, 2028.
Dr. Burrs. Have a motion to approve. I do hear a second. Questions, comments before we vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motions carry. Under economic development, Madam Clerk, item C, please.
Item C, a resolution of intent that, one, the Proposed Access Road LLC Tax Increment Finance and Redevelopment Project, AKA the North River Commerce Center Tax Increment Financing Project, will provide necessary improvements to public infrastructure that the city of Chattanooga, the city wants to incur within the proposed time for the project, but does not currently plan to effect in the short term until its existing capital improvements plan. And two, the city council will consider an economic impact plan prepared and submitted by the City of Chattanooga Industrial Development Board with aid from the City of Chattanooga's Department of Economic Development with respect to the project in accordance with the city's tax increment financing policy and procedures.
Councilwoman Hill, followed by Councilman Smith.
Move to approve.
Do you have a motion to approve?
Second.
I do have a second. Questions, comments?
Chair, if I may,
You may.
I'd like to also move to amend, please, sir,
We have a motion to amend.
and amend as follows. This will be added to the very end of the resolution language. And property located at 4500 Access Road identified as tax parcel number 119HA003.01 will be excluded from the project area, plan area, and overall boundaries of the proposed tax increment financing district of the economic impact plan referenced herein. That is in form of a motion, sir.
Second.
I do have a motion for an amendment with a second. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment carries.
Move to approve as amended.
We have a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
I have a second. Questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries as amended. Under Public Works, thank you, sir. Items D, E, F, and G. Madam Clerk, please.
Thank you. Item D, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to award contract number W18013-201 South Chickamauga Creek 2 through 4 Interceptor Sewer Rehab Project and consent decree project to SAK Construction LLC of O'Fallon, Missouri in the amount of $22,971,186.95 with a contingency in the amount of $1,148,600 for a total amount of $24,119,786.95. Item E, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to award contract number C17017-201 Wood Recycle New Facility to Integrated Properties LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee in the amount of $1,657,383.65 with a contingency in the amount of $82,850 for a total amount of $1,739,963.65. Item F, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to enter into a public-private partnership agreement with Reflection Riding Arboretum and Nature Center for the management and further development of the Growing Resilient Neighborhood Program for 1 year in the amount of $20,000. Item G, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to enter into a public-private partnership agreement with Waterways for continued management, further development, and expansion of the Rain Smart Yards, formerly My Tennessee, and adopt a waterway stormwater program for 3 years for an annual amount of $30,000.
Councilman Hester.
Move to approve.
Do have a motion to approve with a second. Questions, comments before we vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motions carry. We now move to purchases. Mr. Goldberg, are you presenting this evening?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We have 10 purchases recommended for approval this evening. The first is Waste Resources Division of Public Works, request for increase on contract for emulsion polymer in the amount of $600,000. This increase is needed due to production being doubled during a basin cleanout, as well as additional operational days. The vendor is Polydyne Inc., and the revised annual amount is not to exceed $1,600,000. Waste Resources Division, contract renewal for ladder climbing safety equipment. Rolade Industrial Supply Inc. submitted a 30% price increase due to the global demand of steel, with an annual amount not to exceed $25,000. Also with Waste Resources Division, contract renewal for PVC pipe and fittings. Consolidated Pipe and Supply submitted a 65% price increase due to supply chain issues and a resin shortage, with the annual amount not to exceed $30,000. Fourth, from Public Works, second final renewal of contract for propane service at the landfill. Suburban Propane submitted a 51% price increase due to high global demand and low global supply, with an annual amount not to exceed $175,000. Fifth, Fleet Management Division, new blanket contract for annual equipment safety tests and inspections. 2 bids were received, and the award goes to American Test Center as the best bid meeting specifications. The low bidder did not bid correctly for the specifications. This will be a 4-year contract with an annual amount not to exceed $65,000. Sixth, citywide services, new blanket contract for emulsified asphalt. 1 bid was received. The solicitation was re-advertised and did not yield any additional bids. The award goes to Hudson Materials Company as the best bid meeting specifications. This will be a 4-year contract with an annual amount not to exceed $200,000. Seventh, city planning, new contract for consulting services related to zoning code phase 2 scope, update of the Chattanooga zoning code. This is a sole source procurement to continue with phase 2 of the scope. The vendor is Camaros Ltd., and the annual amount is not to exceed $204,000. Eighth, from Parks and Outdoors, request to increase contract for playground and outdoor fitness equipment in the amount of $505,000 in order to make additional playground improvements throughout the city using surplus funds. The vendor is Game Time Inc., and the revised annual amount is not to exceed $605,000. From the fire department, we have a new blanket contract for firefighters' leather boots. 3 bids were received, and the award goes to Emergency Vehicle Specialist as the best bid meeting specifications. This will be a 4-year contract with an amount not to exceed, annual amount not to exceed $90,000. And finally, from the Fleet Management Division, we have a request for a 1-month extension of contract for Heil OM parts and service. This will extend the contract through June 30th, 2022, and give the department more time to update specifications and rebid. The vendor is Stringfellow Inc., and the annual amount is not to exceed $65,000.
Thank you, council. You've heard tonight's purchases. Do you have a motion to approve with a second? Questions, comments before we vote? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. And we do have 2 emergency purchases, or 1 emergency purchase and an update to an emergency
Yes,
purchase.
sir. So first, on April 29th, 2022, Public Works contracted HEPACO for emergency remediation related to cleanup and disposal of 22 illegally dumped 55-gallon drums. This emergency purchase was reported to the City Council on May 3rd, 2022, with an amount of $100,000. The cost of cleanup is higher than originally estimated. Total cost to date total $126,850.38, and the total cost is now estimated not to exceed $175,000.
Brent, not to get any hopes up, is there any chance of reimbursement?
Not
on that?
likely.
No, not from EPA, or
Probably not.
thought I had to ask. All right, thank you.
And then we have a new emergency purchase to report to council. On May 9th, 2022, Public Works bypassed normal procurement procedures and completed an emergency purchase to replace 2 gearboxes for the fine screens in the wastewater influent pump station. The emergency purchase was completed in order to maintain critical operations and mitigate costly sewer system overflows. The vendor was Brazelco Inc., and the amount for 2 gearboxes was $14,050.
All right, thank you. And we have no RFPs this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll move on to committee reports. Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilwoman Knoll. Dr. Burrs.
The budget process started today with education sessions for the council, and it will continue next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair.
No report.
Councilwoman Hill. Councilman Smith. Councilman Hester.
We met today, we'll meet again in 2 weeks.
Thank you, sir, for that report. We are now ready to recognize persons wishing to address the council this evening. If you would like to address the council this evening, please make your way down to the podium. And while we do that, Madam Attorney, would you please read our engagement rules?
Each person wishing to address the council shall be recognized only at this microphone provided for that purpose. You may address the council only upon matters within the legislative and quasi-judicial authority of the council. And each speaker is limited to 3 minutes of speaking time unless additional permission for time is provided by the city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Mott.
Good evening, Marie Mott, District 8. Every democracy depends on a threshold of the level of trust among its citizens and in its key institutions of government, business, and civil society. Currently, however, the United States falls short of that ideal. According to More in Common, 80% of Americans in 1960 had confidence that their government would do what is right for them. As of right now, that is 30%. 63% of Americans believe you can't be too careful with dealing with people. 37% of Americans agree that they can even trust people. And 74% believe that we can't even trust the people around us. 10% of Americans say that they feel their strongest sense of belonging in their local communities. 22% only feeling belonging in their faith group, and 34% having no feeling that they belong in community at all. 64% of Americans feel as if they are treated with dignity. 70% of white Americans feel that they are treated with dignity in their community. 50% of African Americans feel that they are treated with dignity in their community. And 47% of Asian Americans feel as if they are treated with dignity in their community. Without a baseline of trust in key institutions and each other, we cannot solve collective problems or advance changes that benefit all sectors of our society. In high trust societies, people are able to organize quickly, initiate action, and sacrifice for the common good. High trust societies also have lower economic inequality and growing economies, lower rates of corruption, and a more civically engaged population. Distrust, on the other hand, leads to political extremism and an unwillingness to engage in society. I want to thank Professor Julia Minson at Harvard Kennedy School for having a discussion around groupthink, which I'll talk about next week. I don't think I'm ready for that one. And having a discussion about how do we build trust and receptiveness, even if we have differences in ideology and opinion, and how leaders such as I and 60 other young people from around the world can be change agents in our nations, in our communities, and in our country. And I want to share with this dais, as well as every leader that is responsible for the city of Chattanooga, that public trust is lower than it has ever been in American history. And part of that is a leadership problem. And so I encourage you, look at More in Common, because we have more in common than we think. That's actually a website. And look at the publication of Distrust, and look at the findings of what you can do as leaders in our community to increase public and civic engagement and trust so that we can solve collective problems, lower inequality, and have a better future for those in the community. These are the ideas that I learned at Harvard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mott. Evening, Ms. Bell.
It is an evening. Good afternoon.
I knew that was
Good
you.
evening, council. Trying to hide behind a mask, and I think that's something that we all have to stop doing, hiding behind masks. I want to talk about so many things. Additional time is the one that I really need. I need at least 10 minutes to get to where we need to be so we can go where we need to go, and that's out of poverty. I made some calls to some city council representatives this year, was reluctant to do it because when I was doing it on last year, I nearly got arrested for making harassing phone calls to people who denied me of due process of law and the equal protection of the laws. So I was really reluctant to do it, did it anyway. I don't know if anyone will extend my time, but the question was asked. Not long ago in the United States Court of Appeals, the United States District Court, that's us, a young lady was a great friend of mine. She still is. Reluctantly, she ended up marrying our DA, and we're going to talk about this in Lent too, along with the hit that you all put on me in my encampment. We're going to deal with that subject. You're going to pay me my money, and we're going to stop these kinds of actions against citizens of the United States of America. I've been in foreign countries where Americans are not treated with total respect. And to get it here, it's just a play on words. When are we going to stop it? When are we going to grow up? When are we going to treat everybody like we want to be treated? That's a question that I don't even have to ask, because that program, that problem, that situation was dealt with in the 60s. I talked to you last week about W.E.B. Du Bois and double consciousness. I'm going to come back next week and give you some references of what James Baldwin talked about. Our first political homosexual writer that described our country, our nation from his point of view. The difficulties trying to be two things in one, trying to be a man in America under the color of darkness. I think it's time that we face what's in our dark closet. We've come out with men wanting to be women and vice versa. But the black man in this country still has to stand behind a podium and a mic and a panel of people to say, yet I am a man. We're going to discuss the fact that there's a difference between being told at 5 years old that you can make the distinction of yourself to be male or female. It's a difference from being castrated. And
Thank
we'll
you.
deal with that subject when I come back. I thank you. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Good evening, sir.
Good afternoon, Council, y'all. My name is Charles Walker. I work for the State of Public Works, and I got injured back in June of last year, and I'm still fighting the battle with them trying to get my knee surgery. I went to 3 different doctors, and each one of them saying I need a full knee replacement, but I'm not getting no response back from the city down there. And they called me on last week and said that they won't offer me a settlement, but so I told them I would not accept the settlement they was offering me. And on yesterday, Starla Benjamin called me and told me that that my IOD will be ending on tomorrow, that I have to come back to work. And she said, I'll probably be out of a job. I mean, it's not making sense now. I've been trying to set up a meeting with people, different ones, been sending emails to different ones, but I have not been getting no response back from them. And I mean, I feel like something should be done about this about now. It's been over a year, just about a year now. Matter of fact, it'll be a year next month since I had my knee injury on the job. So I want to bring it to y'all again. And I mean, some should be addressed to them down there about it. I mean, what will be my next move I need to do then, from here now?
Sir, we can't give you that advice.
What's that now?
We can't give you that advice.
Right. That's one other thing Starla Benjamin advised me on. She said, you go down and talk to the city council, it would not do you no good because I don't have no control over the public works. I run this down here. So I want to come and talk to y'all again about it today. Okay,
Thank you for
all right,
sharing that with us.
all right.
Does anyone else wish to address the council this evening? I see someone coming.
Pretty simple.
Evening, sir.
My name is Mike Sedman, and I've spoke to the city attorney already about this issue. I live across from the Chattanooga tank wash, and they allow their parking lot to be what I think is an overnight truck rest stop, and all day too. It generally doesn't take truckers that come in there and pick up their tanks. Maybe it takes about 30 minutes to hook up and make a safety check and figure out what they're going to do, and then take off and, deliver or even drop off and pick one up and go. But they're not doing it like that. They're just sitting out there. They're allowing it. People, I think trucks are coming in that I'm not sure if they're affiliated with the tank wash or not, but I can't sleep at night. And my wife, like Sunday night was really bad. It sounds like a garbage truck down there running, city garbage truck. And I've got statements from the neighbors that 2 houses down. And it's not every night, but it's like Russian roulette. You never know which night's going to be the one where the antique Kenworth comes in there and you can't sleep. So I've had the police come and they said it's too far of a distance to comply with the ordinance that way. But it's not just the sound. The sound's bad, but it's the length of time. All night long is no good. All day long is no good. 30 minutes is about all it takes for them to do what they really need to do. And anything longer than that, they're either down there watching movies or sleeping in. And I've asked them to put signs up on the parking lot to require them to have a 30-minute limit on their idle or APU. And they don't have any kind of sign like that down there on the parking lot. They say they do in the office, but they used to have a little bitty sign on the gate, but the gate's wide open too, night and day now. They used to close it. We've been there 16 years. They used to close the gate at night, but that's not been that way for a while. One of them tore through the gate, and they never did close it back. So anyway, I'm asking for the ordinance to be tweaked, or whatever wording they need to do to cover this situation. It's a natural amphitheater there too. It's like we're in a hollow, and the sound just runs right up the hill. And that's about all I got to say anyway.
Thank you, sir.
But when can I get a response though? That's my question.
If you'd like, the city attorney can respond, as you have already started a process with the city attorney's office. That would be the proper response. So,
Okay.
we'll hit your
I
line.
appreciate it. I appreciate you.
So if
And,
you'll hang on one second.
Hi, Mike. I did research the issues that you brought to my attention. I looked at your police reports and the ordinances around noise. And what I found is that the noise that this business is putting off does not violate our ordinance. I understand that you're asking it to be tweaked, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I have looked into everything. And I do find that as of now, there's no recourse for you against with a city ordinance. You could either deal directly with the business or
well, can I ask a question? I thought that
I think your time's up.
right.
I'm happy to circle back later, but I just wanted to make sure you knew that I have
okay,
addressed your issue.
because like
Thank you.
barking dogs and
And I do have another council member that would like to comment. Dr. Burrs?
Noise is a problem, and we're getting ready to look at the noise ordinance.
mhm.
The noise does carry, and I believe the law right now says something
See,
like,
I'm hard of hearing.
can you hear me
I
now?
can't.
All right. I think noise is a problem. The council has been concerned with the present noise ordinance. And as a matter of fact, we're looking at it. The way you described it, the city attorney is correct, but maybe our ordinance is not correct. People shouldn't be kept awake at night. Where is this place? The what?
It's a block away from the radio station. It's pretty,
Is this on Broad Street?
across the street from the radio station.
Pineville Road.
Pineville Road.
Now I know where you're at.
Okay, and who's doing what there?
It's the name of the corporation is Chattanooga Tank Wash. And they just let these guys sit out there and just idle.
It's a private business. Yeah,
I guess, a
okay,
corporation.
all right, okay.
But,
So,
but people can't have barking dogs all night and music going all night long.
well, unfortunately, they can if it's that's what we're looking at. The 300-foot thing is ridiculous now that people live differently. So we're looking at all of that.
Especially when it's in an amphitheater
I think
situation.
your time is up, but I just wanted you to know that that's something we are looking at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the council this evening? Council, I am seeing no one. What is your wish? I do have a motion to adjourn, and we are adjourned.